Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Let me introduce myself. I'm Nadia, I'm from Terrazzo Studio, and if you already know our channel, you see that we work with a material called Jesmonite, and there are different types of materials. This is mainly a brand, so if you work with acrylic resins, water-based acrylic resins, this is also going to be a video that is going to be useful for you. So, what are we doing today? One of the things that we struggle the most with this material is the bubbles, because the bubbles are going to be visible on the surface of your product, and that's what we don't want. If you like it, perfectly fine. In fact, sometimes we need to embrace it because it's also part of the nature of being handmade, but there are a few things that we can do to make it better. So today I'm going to show you how to prevent bubbles when we are mixing the product, but at the afterwards, when we have a product already made and you see holes. So you can see here, there are a few holes that you can see here, and we are going to patch them up. What happens when you are making a product is that you are going to have these bubbles. The bubbles are going to rise to the top. This, of course, can be somewhat preventable with some techniques. I'm not going to show you these techniques today, maybe for another video. But in fact, if you want to learn a little bit more, go into more detail about the material, how to work with it, how to properly seal it, how to properly mix it and sand it and so on, making sure that you have the whole process explained. We actually host workshops, and we're about to have one around a month from now. So if you're seeing this before 12th of July of 2024, then you're still on time to enroll in our workshop and have a conversation with us in real time and and we will show you for 1.5 hours how we work with this material, how we make it professional. This is suitable if you want to have your own small business or if you want to do gifts for your loved ones or something like that. This is also a very nice material for that. We are going to patch this with the same material, with Jesmonite. And if we work with Jesmonite, or even if you didn't, one thing that is very cool about this material is that Jesmonite sticks to Jesmonite. So if you already have a solid piece, if you are going to mix Jesmonite again, and if you are going to patch it, or if you're going to, for example, try to put two pieces together, they are going to stick to each other. So kind of like a glue, but it's going to be with the same material. So that's pretty cool. So let's do that. Before we show you how we patch the products, we are going to show you the piece just straight out of the mold and before we sand. So you can see it doesn't seem to have a lot of holes, but as soon as we start sanding, the holes are going to be shown. And here we are dry sanding. As we mentioned before, dry sanding saves us a lot of time. So I will also link the video about our technique of dry sanding. You can see here, no holes, just a little bit, just a little one. And after dry sanding, you can see a lot more holes are being shown. I can show you now the holes that I was talking about in more detail. So you can see here these holes. So these are actually bubbles that weren't removed from the material when we were pouring into the silicone mold. And as you saw previously on the video, we made this. And by the way, if you want to see more about the making, I will link the playlist in one of these corners. And so we already dry sanded, because to be honest, to make this kind of pieces, if you don't dry sand it, you're going to take forever. So we already dry sanded. We're going to fix these holes, and then we're going to sand it again so we can finish the product, which is going to be a lamp. These are all lamps. With terrazzo, and especially with pieces that have a really high, have a height. So because if you make a tray, this is a little bit easier than if you make, for example, a lamp like this. Because with the tray, you have a smaller height, so then the bubbles can rise easier. Now, with a piece with this size, the bubbles need to rise from the top, because when we pour like this, so the bubbles are actually rising from this direction to this direction. And because it has terrazzo, what happens is that bubbles also can get trapped under the terrazzo, And yeah, we have a little bit more bubbles than usual. Some have a little bit more, some not, but we really don't like this that has so many holes, and we're going to fix it. We are going to make a mix of Jesmonite. So this is what we're using, Jesmonite AC100, and we're just going to do a little bit, and because it's just a tiny bit, I'm just going to do it by eye. And we're actually going to use a white color, so you can see that the terrazzo is all white. Here we also have white, so it actually helps if you have a color that is easy to make to patch these holes. Put a little bit of liquid. I'm going to put white, so I'm going to put the powder, and I'm going to do this a little by eye. If I see that actually I put too much powder, I just can put a little bit more liquid, to be honest. That's also one of the things that you can do. And we're going to use a mixing blade. This one is pretty dirty. Not dirty, but it has a lot of Jesmonite that already stuck onto it. It's not a problem, so that's what we're going to use. I'm going to mix. I see that it's still too liquid, so I'm going to put more powder. Let's see. I still feel like it's a little bit liquid, and I actually want to have more like not a paste consistency, but almost like a paste, because it's going to be easier to patch the holes, in my opinion. See the consistency, it's not very runny, so it's exactly what we want. And let's start patching. You can use a little spatula. We really love these silicone patch spatulas. It's super easy to clean, but that's something that not sure if we already explained in videos, but we also talked about this in our workshops. So you can go and you just spray it around, and you are going to see that this is going to start filling in those holes. And then it's going to dry, and it's going to be part of the material. So it's actually pretty. Try not to put a lot, although now you see a lot of white here. So I try to also remove a little bit. But you see that the holes are gone. So you can really go into them. I'm going to do all the 3 lamps. So if you want to just see this first one, fine. Otherwise you can skip the video, go ahead. But I need to patch the tree. So then you can see different hole sizes in different lamps if you are interested. I try to remove as much as possible, because what is going to happen is that if I leave too much, this is going to be more work for sanding, that we will also show you more in the next steps of the video. Okay, one of these things is that this material also sets super quickly, so I need to be very quick with this, and because I already put too much powder to create more like a paste-like consistency, I need to be extra quick, trying to... Not sure if all the holes, some holes are so small, and I also like if it's really small holes that it's in, I think it's part of the charm of the material. But what I really dislike, it's the bigger ones. So as you can see here, well, maybe I actually have too much, so I'm going to try to scrape it out a little bit so it's not too much for the sanding. This one is already looking better. Now this one was the one that we had so many holes, you can see. So this one is going to be really, it's kind of like spreading butter and trying to make it go into all the holes. Well, I also see some people doing this by hand, which is also an option. Then again, this material is not toxic, so you just wash your hands But if you have like long nails, maybe it's not going to be the best. See how cool? No more holes. And by the way, you see this consistency is getting setting, so I need to be even quicker. Let's do the third one. That's still usable, so let's do the third one. And by the way, if you want to see a piece, making a piece from beginning to end of terrazzo, I will also put the link up there, so you can go check. Well, I think it's pretty good, so I'm gonna let all these lamps dry now. And this, it's never going to be a waste. We are going to use this for terrazzo, so let me show you what we do with terrazzo. Going to pour, well, it's not really pour anymore because this is so thick, but important with this material, you don't need to have any waste. You can always reuse it. So to make terrazzo, we are just spreading this, trying to spread this as thin as not as thin as possible, spreading this thin. In a bit, we are going to come back to do the sanding. Now, 30 minutes have passed, well, a little bit more than that. And the next step is that, well, we're not gonna leave the piece full of white smear of Jesmonite, so we're going to sand it. And for that, I'm going to call the master of sanding, which is the other half of Rosa Studio, so Thomas.
Hi.
And he's going to sand. Well, not that I cannot sand, but I prefer not to, and he's a little bit better at it. So let's check how Thomas is going to sand this to have a final product. As we said, we need to remove all of this white, right, because it's a little bit extra, and we're going to wet sand. And for that, we're going to bring in a bucket of water. We're going to use a 400 grit. We're first going to do this one, and if you recall from the video, this was the one that had the most holes. So let's see how it looks. Actually see, like for example, this that looks very round, that's some of the holes that we patched. We do have a few here, but they are super small, and we're actually very happy with this first result, so we're not going to repeat the process. This took, what, like 4 minutes, 3 minutes to remove, and it's actually easier if you do it immediately after, so like 30 minutes after when the Jesmonite is already set. It's going to be easier to remove the excess. Now it's time to let it dry. We usually leave it for 24 to 48 hours before sealing to make sure that the water evaporates, so we don't trap any water with the sealing. Now that our products are dry, we are going to seal, and we use Clark's stone and concrete wax. I can also link the video that we show in more detail how we seal it completely, but we're still going to show you here the process. And the color change is something that always amazes us. Looks so beautiful. Now looks a little bit glossy, but it dries matte, so we actually use this wax for all our products. We really love it. We are going to do one coat, let it sink in for a little bit, and then we're going to seal the rest. This is what we normally do if we have a lot of products to seal. We just seal them in batches, and while some are sinking in the wax, for the first layer we just seal the other ones. Now we're going to buff in the excess of the wax on all the lamps, and we're going to apply a second coat. So you almost don't see any holes. We have just a few small ones, but we're still really happy with the result. And now we can show you the final result. You almost don't see any holes. So what do you think? Are you going to use this technique? Thank you, everyone. When the product, no, not this. Okay, let's try again. Patch up the holes with terrazzo, and this is what we're going to show.